Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to the Den of the Drake. Other dragons hoard gold while I hoard internet cringe. Love is in the air here at Den of the Drake. Not the wholesome kind that ends in "till death do us part," but the horrifying and cringeworthy kind that ends in "till death does you part." Nothing can transform the jovial atmosphere of a D&D table into a state of awkward torment faster than a one-way love story. But a special kind of feeling grows in the pit of everyone's small intestine when said love story results in jealousy over a person that doesn't even exist. Today's story stars a demented rogue with a serious hatred for a fellow player. All because an NPC loves him more than she loves her. Now, without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive right into the horrifying world of r/RPGHorrorstories. Enjoy. This week's story comes to us from user Senior Black, and it's titled The Tale of the Rogue That Tried to Steal Hearts. Or Problem Player Rogue Wants a Girlfriend. Or Problem Player Rogue Wants a Girlfriend. There's really no other way to title this story. Honestly, this is just as much of a funny story as it is a horror story. This took place in an online game that I was invited to through a friend of mine. I was in a Discord server with a few other people. I only really knew the DM of this story personally. Speaking of which, our cast is Pink, the DM, an old friend from high school. Black, me, a human paladin. Blue, the problem player, a half-elven rogue. Red/green/white, high elf monk, lizard folk wizard, halfling ranger. The rest of the party, who are all innocent in all of this. I was the second person invited to this server by Pink, following Blue. I felt that we hit it off pretty well when we began to swap introductions, until I told her that I was a guy. Apparently that detail was enough to make her rather distant from me. Now, I don't think I was particularly rude, but the server is long gone. So maybe my memory is just failing me. However, Blue seemed to only want to converse directly with Pink and Red, who were both women. Either or, it wasn't long until the other three joined the server. We all began session 0 of just tossing out ideas and trying to build characters. We were all going to start at level 3, and Red and Blue already knew what they wanted to play. A rogue and a ranger respectively. Eventually, I decided to play a paladin. A class that I don't really play, but always wanted to. I decided to pick the Oath of Conquest subclass. Blue did not approve. Blue: "Oh, sweetie, Conquest Paladins are evil. Aren't we a good aligned party?" Me: "Not necessarily, I mean, as long as I'm not invoking my oath on friends or the innocent, then I'm fine, right?" Blue: "Douse the flame of hope, rule with an iron fist, and you're supposed to be good." Me: "Well, maybe I'm neutral." Blue: "I'm just saying." Green: "I'm playing a School of the Necromancer Wizard." Blue: "What? That's evil too." Green: "I mean, what's the difference between a cleric healing and a necromancer resurrecting? I mean, we're both defying nature, so..." Me: "And you're literally a rogue assassin. How are we automatically evil when your subclass is actually engineered to kill people?" This sort of debate went on for a while, long enough for Pink to tell all three of us to shut up. In the meantime, Red and White chose their subclasses. Red had decided to play a Way of the Long Death Ranger, and got no response from Blue, other than it being told that it was a good subclass. White had decided to play a Drake Warden, and he told me and Green that Blue had come after him as well, telling him that his class was enslaving a dragon to work for him and is wrong and unlawful and criminal. My guess is she didn't want Pink to tell her to stop again. So I told him to tell the DM, but he decided against it, thinking that it wasn't a big deal. We wrapped up session 0 with a few minor points of our background. I mentioned something about being a carpenter and initially taking my paladin oath to protect the carts on the trade routes to my town, since most carts are either reached to us in pieces or never at all due to an increase in banditry. What I would develop later would be how my character was married to a baroness, and how my paladin was hired as a mercenary to protect her carriage as she traveled from small town to small town in the country's capital in order to attend court. This small adventure of fighting through bandits that seemed hell-bent on keeping her away, before uncovering a conspiracy and learning that they were knights of another baron, was how my character reached level 3 over the course of 5 years. And in year 3 they were married, and my character redid his oaths to her as his wedding vows. But my Baroness NPC wife knew that I was still young, and had adventure calling out to me, so she insisted that I go out and see the world until I've had my fill. After all, now that they were married, they would be connected forever. She would remain loyal, and in turn, she expected the same from me. Pink really liked this, and behind the scenes, she tried to incorporate it into the plot of her game. This NPC wouldn't become too important, but since the focus of the game was ridding the frontier towns of her setting of various monster armies before they reached the bigger cities, she thought that this Baroness, we'll call her Emerald for brevity's sake, would make a fine NPC for the character to interact with. After exchanging some details, the plan was set. Session 1 properly went about how I expected it to. Red, green, and white introduced their characters with little issue, save for blue criticizing the latter two. Green's character, being a wizard trying to pay off their school's debts, was too cliché. And white saying that he was assigned his dragon companion when he joined his conclave of rangers, was called out for bringing propaganda to D&D through his ranger. His ranger was vaguely themed like a police officer, with his dragon companion being comparable to a canine unit. Red's character was just a wandering hermit, essentially Ryu from Street Fighter if he was a she. Blue did nothing but praise her, so much praise that it actually made her pretty uncomfortable, to the point where Pink had to tell her to stop so that we could keep the game going. Meanwhile, Blue's character was a heavy romantic, speaking only in poetry verses which, to her credit, were rather clever. I'd say it was even a good character. Too bad she did not say the same of mine. Blue: your character sounds too generic. And why is he wearing a circlet? Me: oh, well, since he wears gloves, wedding rings would kinda get in the way. So the circlet is for my marital status. Blue: he's married? Cue my rather flamboyant paladin gushing about his beautiful wife. She is the moon that inspires me. His sword cuts down foes in her name. He wears his scar with pride because it was earned protecting her. It was cheesy and over the top, and while Red and Blue found it amusing, Blue simply responded in character. Blue: ah, I see. You are a tool. The woman who wed you, she must be a fool. I took it as a joke, but I had no idea of the evil intent behind those words. I think we've all been there when we've heard other party members talk about their backstories and felt the need to pipe up and say, that's nice, but I think you should stop. Take a moment. Is the content of that player's backstory really going to affect your experience at the table in a negative way? Usually, I'm Mr. Criticize everything. That's how things get better. But in the case of character backstories, if you're not the GM, then what right do you really have to have a hand in the creation of a character's origin? Unless a player directly asks to hear your thoughts on their backstory, or if their backstory is inappropriate in the eyes of the entire party, I really don't see the benefit of telling another person how their character should be. The backstory is supposed to be a part of their fun, not yours. But you also shouldn't be injecting reasons to get offended at people's backstories like Blue and her propaganda bullshit either. Look, if that ranger's backstory is cruel and propaganda, then I really hope she never finds out about a tiny little trilogy called How to Train Your Dragon. Look, there's reasons why I don't talk about politics on the channel apart from the isolated joke. 1. I am a cartoon dragon. I should not be taken that seriously. 2. It's really f***ing annoying to be lectured when you didn't ask for it. By clicking on my video, you agreed to the Den of the Drake terms and conditions as stated in paragraph 4, subsection A of the D&D YouTuber clause. You are now subject to being lectured by the cartoon dragon because L plus ratio plus no bitches plus go touch grass plus don't care plus didn't ask plus pretty cringe bro plus I'm not a hypocrite plus please stop bullying me, I'm actually really sensitive. The same thing applies to D&D. This is all my own opinion, but to me, bringing real-world politics to a D&D table tends to do nothing but make shit awkward for everyone involved, regardless of what side of the political compass you fall on. In case anyone was wondering, I fall under chaotic evil. One of the main draws to RPGs like D&D is that it's the pinnacle of escapism. In the world you create with the DM and your party, everything can be exactly what you want it to be. The world is open to new possibilities and vibrant countries with unique external and internal conflicts that the party can have a hand in actually solving or making worse. So why would you introduce real-world conflicts that the players are bombarded with every time they look at their phones? I mean, not only is it annoying, but it's also boring. I don't know about all of you, but I play D&D to escape from all the little blue check marks that populate our world. You know, now that I think about it, maybe that's where Blue gets her name from. Sessions came and went a lot like this. Blue would cling to Red like glue, and try to help her in almost every fight, and try to get downtime with her at almost every opportunity while she ignored me and the others, except to sling snide remarks. It'd get so bad that either Red would tell Blue to knock it off, or Pink would tell her to stop or she'd kick her from the game. The threat never came to pass, but at least it kept Blue cordial for a time. Sadly, Red wasn't the only victim from her unwanted affection, because every female NPC, from barmaids to priests, would be hit with constant attempts at flirting. So unrelenting that you think that she was playing a bard and not a rogue. Pink didn't typically mind this, or so she claimed, but having Blue jump at almost every woman and interrupt the game until someone, usually Red, pulled her away was getting out of hand, especially when they told her no and Blue didn't take it as an answer. Cue Session 5. Our characters are level 5, and we killed a Goblin King and stopped his army from burning a town to the ground. Said town was my character's hometown, and we were summoned by the local Baroness so she could reward us personally. And naturally, it was the NPC wife of my character, Emerald. And like clockwork, Blue began to pour on her charm, and tried to woo her in her verse speech. Emerald: I am flattered, but I'm afraid my hand belongs to someone else. Blue: someone else? Oh, what woe! Who could it be that has become your beau? Pink told her to make an investigation check. She did so. Got a low roll, but Pink told her, you look closer upon her beautiful face. You notice that she's wearing a circlet, and it looks familiar. If this were a cartoon, this would be where the record would scratch, and it would all dawn on Blue in an instant. I followed up the best way I knew how, by having my character approach the Baroness. I took a knee, took her hand, and kissed it. Me: forgive my companion, my dear. Her heart is in the right place, for who could resist you? For you are the moon that inspires me. Emerald: and you are the sun that my world revolves around. Blue was furious. I can't hope to remember everything she said, but she went into an epic poem about how awful my character was. To paraphrase, he was a fool that told bad jokes and laughed at everything, even when he was close to dying. His chainmail was rusting, and sword was as crude as his scarred face. He was no Prince Charming, but a fool in knight's clothing. How could anyone, let alone a beautiful maiden, love and marry a bastard like Black? Pink wasn't sure how to respond to this. I don't think anyone did. So it came down to me, and in-game I decided to laugh and even applaud Blue for her epic slamming. Pink would then have Emerald awkwardly laugh and do the same. Out of character, I was less than gracious. Me: maybe if your character had a charisma higher than 8, she'd be married too. Tactless? Yes. I'd even call myself an asshole for that. Blue certainly thought so at least, because she drew her short swords and dashed right for me. It was an attack roll, and thankfully she rolled low and my AC was decent, so I could be able to avoid getting stabbed. I took my greatsword and tore into Blue. I stopped before killing her and just let her drop to the floor with 0 HP, but I did play up the crazed look in my character's eyes as he towered over Blue and how he was ready to plunge his sword into her, only stopping himself since my wife wouldn't approve of me just killing her in cold blood. Blue: "Why didn't any of you guys help me? He almost killed me!" White: I mean, both in and out of character, you've been really rude to us. You were kinda asking for it. Blue: "Shut up!" Red: "No, you shut up. White's right. You have been nothing but a bitch to them and a total creep to me. If Black didn't kick your ass, I would have. The only reason that my character didn't break yours' nose was because Pink kept insisting that she would get you to calm down." And then silence, before Blue left the server. The mood was dead. Everything was just so awkward and quiet that nobody dared to really say anything. But before anyone could type anything, Pink sent us a message. Pink: "I'm sorry, but I think we need to just stop this campaign." I can't really say that I blamed Pink. Red formed a new server and gathered White, Green, and I, and we were able to swap notes. White, Green, and I apparently got off pretty easy. Red, however, was getting constant messages from Blue, both in and out of character. She was trying to force a romance between their characters. At first, it was begging, but then it escalated into demanding. Red was spending so much time with Blue, and she even confided her backstory to her. They were always together, and she even saved her from all of her enemies. In reality, Blue was latching onto Red like an emotional leech, and was unloading all her emotional baggage onto her. They were always together because Blue didn't understand that Red just wanted Blue to leave her alone for just 1 minute. No, Blue never saved her. At best, she stole her kills, and at worst, she tried to keep her out of the fight and deliberately got in her way every single combat. After that, and with the game ending, we all just kinda went our separate ways and left the server. I tried to find it again, but I think it was deleted, so no clue to whatever happened to Red, or what was Pink and Blue's deal, or anything else. TLDR. I gave my character an NPC wife. Problem player is whiny, and that is the final straw that kills the campaign. Also, I was told to update mostly to add something that I put in the comments. Question: did you try to keep up with Pink? Answer: I tried, but it didn't go as well as I hoped. She started off by apologizing on Blue's behalf, that they had played D&D one-on-one, but didn't think that she would act this way inside of a group. She tried to invite us to a new campaign, and I almost agreed to it until she said, "Blue's ready to give you another chance." I was confused. The conversation was, essentially, me: "She's ready to give me another chance?" Pink: "I mean, you did fight her and almost kill her character." Me: "After she attacked me, was I just supposed to just not fight back and let her kill me?" Pink: "I mean, I don't know, but you didn't have to go that far." Me: "Pink, I wasn't the problem here. Blue was. And I'd say that you were a bit of a problem too, because it sounds like you're just enabling her at this point. You only stepped in either after Red said something or the game began to drag on." And then I was blocked. In hindsight, I probably let my temper get the better of me. I've got her email, so I could have tried to message her there, but after being blocked on Discord, I thought the message was pretty clear that she didn't want to talk to me. End of story. I can't say I blamed Pink. Well, I sure as can. Literally, most of the problems that occurred in this story can be traced directly back to her. She practically threw you into an oven to be served to her degenerate friend like a honey-roasted ham. The DM is supposed to act as a level-headed referee that eases tension and tries to create an environment where everyone can play their characters the way that they want to play them. What they don't do is sit idly by and watch as one player tries to abuse the entire group in the name of dismantling the patriarchy or whatever the f*** Blue was hoping to accomplish here. And that ending where she says that Blue is ready to forgive OP? Oh, that speaks volumes about where Pink is at the end of the day. Because it shows that Pink still thinks that Blue is the victim of all of this. Look, just because someone doesn't fit the preconceived image of a sweaty neckbeard complete with a fedora and a My Little Pony shirt, doesn't mean that they're not capable of inappropriate and frankly predatory behavior. Look, it doesn't matter whether you're a man, woman, straight, gay, lesbian, or somewhere in between, you do not get to attack and harass people who are supposed to be your friends and then not see the consequences of your own actions. Don't judge a book by its cover. Judge a book by the contents of the f***ing book. Now before we go, let's take a look at this week's Gallery of the Drake. This week's fan art comes from viewer Sarah and depicts my high school senior photograph that my mom had on the refrigerator until I was finally forced to move out of her basement. All right, everyone smile. Wait, I gotta sneeze. Thank you again, Sarah, for submitting your art. If you want to see your artwork featured in Gallery of the Drake, be sure to send it to the email in my About section. Fan art is my favorite part of doing YouTube, and it means the world to me that I can inspire artists like you to create artwork like this. With the story over and artwork displayed, we're gonna go ahead and wrap up. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you feel like supporting the channel further, my Patreon link is in the description. I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope to see you next time in the Den of the Drake.